Good evening. Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. We have, please introduce yourselves.
Kwame Bahati.
Denise Schultz.
Michael Mercier.
I'm Dave Pichette.
Sandy Slavin.
Carol Melanson.
Nicole Curto.
Jessica Parr.
Thank you. For anybody here, we've had a request for a continuance for Scott Green, 17 Murphy Street, and a request for continuance for Wareham MA3 LLC, 91 and 101 Faring Hill, and we will address them as they appear on the agenda. We will take our RDAs first, and then we'll do notice of intent, and I've been asked if we could move that out of order, so we'll address that when we start doing our NOIs. So we have a set of minutes from April 25th, 2022. They were mailed. Anybody have a chance to look at that page and a half, a set of minutes, as opposed to 7 pages? So, any motion?
I didn't get to read
I
them.
didn't get to read it either.
You didn't get them? Here, I'm going to pass this down to you, and we'll address it later on in the meeting. It is just approving minutes. That's all that was done in the meeting. So, all right, I will put that aside. No one's, because Dave, you sent it out this morning, didn't you, this afternoon?
I
Today.
don't recall, no, actually it was yesterday.
Okay. They are,
Okay, I see which meeting, okay,
so,
all right. I know which one it is. It was just the one that we did all the minutes at.
I was absent that day, but
Yeah.
I did watch it. Right.
Got it.
Maybe not.
yeah, it's a special one.
Oh, it was a
Oh,
special.
okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
The question was whether or not we called the meeting at 5 o'clock, and I believe it was a special one,
What?
just to handle minutes before the end of the year,
Fiscal year.
the fiscal year,
What was the date on it?
April 25th. April 25th was a Monday, and we just called it at 5
Okay.
o'clock just to
We
do
did.
minutes.
Special
It
Concon,
was a special meeting.
yes.
Yeah.
So if anybody had a chance to review, all it was an approval, minutes were approved.
Did you see him?
Now that you've seen them, would like someone make a motion to accept these minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second,
I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of April 24th, 2022. All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, so I will sign this and we'll get these posted. Thank you.
600.
Yes,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
yes, so first hearing, please.
Okay, let's see. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass, on Wednesday, October 19th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. on the request of determination of applicability for Parkwood Beach Association, James Lupino Sr., 2 Ash Street, excuse me, Wareham, Mass. 02571, for beach nourishment located on Assessor's Map 38, Lot 10020, Parkwood Drive, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here representing this project? Please come forward and identify yourself. Come at the mic so we can get it recorded.
James Lupino?
James?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Bichette will read to the project.
Yeah, so this project site is at the main beach at Parkwood Beach, and the project involves placement of sand for beach nourishment on a coastal beach and within a coastal flood zone at this site. It's proposed to place approximately 12 yards of sand on the beach above the high tide line in the area indicated on the plan, and this would be spread by hand over that beach area. This volume of sand is relatively small for the area and will not really significantly change the grade. The sand will have to be compatible with the existing beach sand. So as we typically require, I would recommend a sieve analysis be done and submitted to the commission to show that the material being brought in is compatible with the existing beach sand. They have had issues with rain events and some washout, and so that's part of the purpose of having this additional material brought in. This is something that we have allowed them to do in the past, so I would recommend the approval of this project with a negative determination number 2.
Questions, Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
I noticed when I was out that there are grasses on either side of the beach. Those aren't going to be touched, correct?
Nope. No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Michael?
No question, thank you.
Carol?
No questions, thank you.
Nicole?
No questions, thank you.
Jessica?
No questions.
I have none. This ongoing battle runs off the road right down your beach and into your water.
Yeah, they did a good job. They came down and cleaned the storm drain at the corner on the end of Ash Street, so that alleviated some of it. Seems to be flowing again, so we were hopeful that...
Yeah, stormwater maintenance is tough in this town, that we have
Yeah.
thousands of basins to try to maintain.
Right. No, they did. They came down, did a nice job, and it seems to be flowing, so it's not overflowing at this time down the, down the beach.
And it wouldn't hurt, like I do for the base of one of my, on the street, is I make sure the leaves are gone before a big storm is coming to help with the correct stormwater flow. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to talk to this project? I'm seeing none.
Move to accept the project, move to close the hearing.
I have a motion to
Second.
close the hearing.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
Move to accept the project with a negative number 2.
I have that motion,
Conditions.
Second.
and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, abstained. You're approved. Before you get anything, make sure you test the sand for compatibility.
Yeah, we have the sieve analysis we've done in the past.
Yes.
We do the
Yep.
same thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to see him before he starts? just wait
Just
for the
to get the
paperwork.
paperwork, right.
So just wait for the paperwork. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
That was for this project.
Next hearing, please.
Okay, notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. on Wednesday, October 19, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. on the request of determination of applicability for NBE Management Corporation, GAF Engineering, INC, 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, for site work and to install a septic system associated with construction of a single-family dwelling located on Assessor Map 35, Lot 61 and 1004C, 3 Long Beach Road, Wareham, Mass.
Is there somebody here to represent this project?
Brian Grady with GAF Engineering.
Thank you. I got one. I'm all set. Yeah, these two will pack shade. Kwame, you get one?
Use his computer.
I'm
Okay.
good. Thank you.
If Mr. Burchett will read to the project.
Okay, so this project site is at 3 Long Beach Road, and this project involves site work and the installation of a septic system associated with the construction of a single-family dwelling, and this is within a coastal flood zone. The site work and the installation of a new Title V septic system associated with the construction of a new single-family house is to be done within coastal flood zone AE elevation 16. The proposed dwelling with attached garage is outside of the flood zone. The work is not within the buffer zone to any other wetland resource areas. There will be some minor grade changes around the proposed septic system as shown on the plan. But since it's only within the flood zone, I would recommend the issuance of approval of the project with a negative determination number 2.
Thank you. Brian, anything to add?
No, nothing to add.
It seemed odd to have an empty lot down in that area.
Yeah, it's been going through some legal issues with the building department that have been resolved.
Okay, thank you. Questions on, Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
I had a hard time finding this. Was this, I found like one stake in the ground, and that was all I could find while I was out there.
Well, the entire lot was staked,
Uh-huh.
and there was something put in at the roadway on Long Beach side,
Okay.
but the house wasn't staked, the septic wasn't staked, but the entire lot was in kind of the center of the lot
Yeah,
on
we
Long.
need to have the thing staked when we go out to look at it, because I'm looking at this empty lot, and I have no idea where anything's going when I'm standing there. It also looks like it's downhill, the lot.
From Long Beach, it goes downhill to Alden,
Is that
correct?
going to affect the people at the bottom of the hill, what you're doing,
Uh,
in terms of water runoff?
No, there's kind of a low point at Alden before it goes up, so it's coming down, it's settling in our own lot before it gets down there, and we are putting in roof drain dry wells, you'll see in the front of the house there. We are proposing some roof drain dry wells to capture the front of the house.
Okay. All right, next time I would really, really appreciate it if it was staked properly.
Sure thing.
Michael?
Like Denise, I also had a hard time finding this lot. I guess one concern I have is where will equipment be stalled during the construction of the house?
Well, it'll probably be where the septic is proposed now. The house will be built, that'll be the staging area. So one of the last things to be done will be the septic installation.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Carol?
No questions.
Nicole?
No questions.
Jessica?
No questions.
I did go out there, and honestly, even if you had staked it, I was not going through that brush to find the stake, because it was so heavily grown over that I couldn't find a path to get off either Alden or the head road. I just couldn't get in.
I was roaming around looking for stakes.
Inside?
Inside,
I
yeah.
wasn't
Went
going
in.
to risk tripping over the briars and
No,
bush
I
and
went in
stuff.
and I was looking, trying to figure out what was going on with the lot, and I
Okay,
couldn't figure it out.
Is there anybody, Brian, would you like to add anything? I don't think I asked you.
Nothing to add.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this project?
Sandy, no.
I'm seeing none.
Sandy, Nicole has.
Sandy,
Oh,
I do have a question, I'm sorry. I just noticed, it says here that the leaching pit for number 8 Alden Road is on that lot. Is any of this going to affect that at all?
No, there's an easement, a deeded easement for that pit on the adjacent lot. So that's why we're
But the
indicating.
construction won't
No.
affect it at all?
No, that'll be marked off prior to construction to keep vehicles off of it, yes. Yep.
Great.
Nice pickup. I guess I'm so used to it coming in off the 8.5 by 11, I don't always quite see all
Kinda
that.
hard to see it on
Yes, thank you. So no other comments or questions?
Move to close the hearing?
I have a motion to close the
Second.
hearing. I
Second.
have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain. The hearing is closed.
Move to accept the project with the standard order of conditions and a
No,
neg-
-2.
-2,
It's an RDA.
-2.
I have a motion for
Second.
-2, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. It's approved. Before you start any work, see Mr. Pichette for your paperwork on that. Okay, Brian?
Okay, thank you.
So we are going to have to make sure we go to Mr. Bichette's office tomorrow morning to sign the paperwork that are coming out of these hearings. We don't have them tonight, okay?
Just the RDAs. I have
Just the
other-
RDAs? Okay, so the next one, please.
Okay, notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. On Wednesday, October 19, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. on a request for determination of applicability for Susan Thompson, J.C. Engineering.
I think you got the wrong one.
And that's what I have next.
Okay, sorry, I got the wrong one.
Woodland Circle.
Sorry, I keep going. I got the wrong one.
Okay, no problem. J.C. Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, to construct a, in addition, located on the Assessor's Map, 46A-1 Lot 13913 Woodland Circle, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Please identify yourself to represent this project.
Good evening, Brad Bertolo with JC Engineering.
Thank you. That's why I got mixed up, because I got your other one. Okay. Mr. Bichette will read to the project.
So the project site is at 13 Woodland Circle in the Pinehurst area, and this is an after-the-fact filing for the construction of an addition within the coastal flood zone. So the addition has already been constructed without permits, so this is essentially was a violation, and now they're trying to get the appropriate approvals, and this approval is one that is required. So the project involved a 6 by 12 foot addition that was constructed within flood zone AE elevation 14. The work is not within the buffer zone to any other resource areas. There were no grade changes made at the site, and the addition was constructed on what was previously a block patio area. There still may need to be some additional work done at the site once the building inspector reviews it. If he finds that there's work that needs to be corrected, then that work will still have to take place. Again, it's not in the buffer zone to any wetlands or wetland resource areas. It just simply happens to be within the coastal flood zone. So I would recommend the issuance of a negative determination number 2 for this project, and then whatever fine the commission feels is appropriate for the starting the work prior to approval.
Brad, anything to add?
Nope, that pretty much sums it up. The property owner was unaware that the contractor she hired didn't apply for permits. So she has a new contractor that's already looked at it and feels there's going to be some partial demo rebuild as part of this.
Needless to say, we're going to ask you, who was the old contractor?
I have no clue. Some builder, I don't know.
Because I'd like to find them also.
Yeah, can you find out? Can you ask the
Okay.
owner?
Yeah, he's probably not even aware it was in a floodplain, but
It's
he
still
didn't have
needed.
any, I don't think he had any building permits
I was
either.
going to say, building still needs to be involved, and prior contractor, question mark. Can we find them? Find them, as opposed to also find them. But, okay, anything else to add? If not, I'll ask the board for their questions. Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Denise,
I just would like to find out the name of that other contractor, if you can
I
just ask
could ask the owner, yeah.
because we definitely need to find them. This patio has been in existence? It's not, I mean, because there's a lot of patio.
There is a lot of
Area.
patio there,
And it's
yeah, but
permitted?
that I could not say. We're just getting involved with this site based on this, so I honestly don't know what the history of this particular site is.
I would like to know if all that patio has been permitted or not.
That seems pretty old, so I'm unsure.
I don't know how
Yeah.
you'd find out.
I mean, when was it put in?
We don't know.
I mean, the
Who
house
knows?
is, the
The
house has
house was
been there
built.
for quite some
The house has
time,
been there?
since the
Yeah, that was-
40s or 50s, you know, it's an
Actually,
old,
I think it was older than that. It looked like it was
It
built in the
probably,
1930s,
yeah.
1930s, actually.
Okay, and the patio looked like it had been in existence for that length of time? or-
well, I can't say again exactly how long, but it's not new, let's put it that way.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the patio is well, shall I say, greened with moss and stuff. The wood barriers around the patio look quite old. But, okay, Michael, questions?
Actually, other than discovering it after the fact, filing, nothing much really after that. Thank you.
Carol?
No questions at this time?
Nicole?
No questions.
Jessica?
No questions, thank you.
Just that I would like to find the contractor who did this work without any permit. And as we consider approving the project, we will be looking for a $200 fine of the homeowner and the contractor. The $200 fine is for any work requiring conservation approval in a flood zone or 100-foot edge of wetlands that would have been permitted, plus filing of request of determination, which we have here. So there's no restoration to be involved, it just that did work without approval. So they both get hit with the $200 when we can find who the contractor was. All right, so is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this project? Seeing none.
Motion to close the hearing?
I have a motion to close the hearing,
Second.
and a second, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed. Someone want to take a stab at the motion?
Motion to accept the project with a negative number 2 determination and a fine of $200 to the homeowner, and contacting the homeowner to find out who the contractor was, and also putting a $200 fine on the contractor.
That's the motion.
Second.
I have a second, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. It's done, and Brad, please see Dave before you start any work on it. Now, we have notice of intent, and I have had a request to take the notice of intent for BOBM out of order. Anybody? Who do you
I
wanna-
have no objection to
wanna-
that.
She's asking
On what-
that we move.
I've had a
Move it-
request
move-
to take the
move 18 green.
BOBM out of order and move them to be the first NOI.
Oh, well, is anybody here for 72A or 24 Cove?
I've been asked by the vast majority of people in this room if we could take the one for the, that's,
I know, and it's going to be a long one with everybody speaking, so if 24
all
Cove
right.
Street
So
is
if you
here.
prefer not to, is there anybody here for 72 Burgess Point Road? Yes, there is. Is there anybody here for the 24 Cove Street? Yes, there is. So it's our decision whether or not we want to talk to those two projects or ask for 18 Green Street out of order.
I would prefer to stay in order since it's going to be a long one with this 18 Green, and I'd
All
hate to have
right,
the other
so
people wait.
so we will keep all the order on the agenda. So the next hearing for roads, please.
It's in, let's see, 72 Burgess Point Road.
72A Burgess.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on rooms 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass, on Wednesday, October 19, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. for the notice of intent for Matthew and Cindy Rhodes, J.C. Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, to replace piles and to extend a float on an existing licensed pier located on Assessors Map 22, Lot 1006A1, 72A Burgess Point Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. And who's here representing this project?
Good evening, Brian Wallace with JC Engineering.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette?
The project site is at 72A Burgess Point Road, and the project involves replacing pilings and extending the float of an existing pier in land under the ocean and land containing shellfish. It is proposed to replace 2 pilings holding the existing float, and then adding 2 additional pilings to end up with 4 pilings, 1 at each corner of the float system. It is also proposed to increase the size of the float from 160 square feet to 300 square feet. The new float would be 8 by 37 feet, and this would result in the float extending out an additional 17 feet from the current endpoint location of the float. There was an eelgrass study conducted, and there is eelgrass in the vicinity of the proposed extension. The proposed extension on the plan is shown to be outside the 50-foot distance from the edge of the eelgrass bed. But when you read the eelgrass report, it seems to indicate some different distances relative to where the proposed work would be to the eelgrass bed. I spoke to Brian about this when we did our site visit, and he was going to comment on that. So I think that needs to be verified. And also, when I was there, it was noticed that there were some activities on the beach and in the 30-foot no activity zone involving piling up seaweed on the edge of the coastal bank, cutting some vegetation along the edge of the bank, and creating an area for chairs to be placed near the beach, again at the edge of the coastal bank. These things were not something that were permitted and should not be happening within that 30-foot no activity zone. Also, there was a buoy placed in the water to indicate the end of the new larger float, but that was slightly submerged. When we went out there, it was just a half a foot underwater or so it may not have been visible to some who were looking for that. We did receive comments from the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries on this project, and they commented about the eelgrass study and stated that they were not provided with a copy of that report, so they requested that as part of their comments. They further commented that they wanted to make sure any barge doing work at the site did not operate in shallow waters or at low tides to prevent grounding, to protect shellfish habitat, and also that any barge does not anchor within the eelgrass area. We did get a DEP file number for this project, but at this point, I would recommend a continuance to make sure that the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries gets the eelgrass survey and to see if they, based on that, have any additional comments to make, and also to address the other issues that I brought up along the edge of the water.
Brian, your turn.
Thank you. So I'll first start with the eelgrass survey comment. So on the report that ECR had completed, they showed a few different spots of where this eelgrass bed was located. In the vicinity of our project, they showed a distance of 75 feet off the end of the existing float. So that is the distance that you see on this plan here, and that's immediately seaward of the proposed work. We held that 75 feet. As you go further east down the shoreline, they gave a few other distances, I believe one of 211 feet to what they called mean low water, and 218 feet a bit further down for mean low water. I do understand, tides, they obviously vary. So we looked at the time that they had done the survey, which was 10:35 a.m. on July 22nd. I was about half hour past low tide, so it may have been a little higher than the mean low water. But in any case, I prepared an overall plan. Oh. That show, we sort of took a conservative approach just based on the varying tides. So on this plan, I drew a red line that indicates approximately where, based on that aerial image that ECR had provided that shows those distances, where the water line was. You can see on the aerial as well that it would be just past the third set of piles on the structure. So we felt that was more appropriate as far as it relates to the distances that ECR had indicated. And we show 201 feet and 204.7 feet. So we're a bit on the conservative side with where the eelgrass delineation was. And we do hold 75 feet, again, from the end of the existing float. So hopefully that clarifies any confusion on that and how that delineation was drawn up on our plan.
Just to clarify, it's 75 feet from the existing float, but it will be 56.6 feet if the extension is approved.
That is correct.
So if that eelgrass comes any closer, it's within 50 feet by 6 feet.
6 feet.
Just
Understood.
understanding how close that eelgrass is getting close to the proposed extension of that float. Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure I was reading that right. So have you sent the report off?
Yeah, as soon as we received the letter yesterday from the Division of Marine Fisheries, we had sent that report to them immediately. I did not include it in the notice of intent application, realized that shortly after, and sent it separately to the commission. We did not send it to DMF, unfortunately. So they do have it now. Imagine they're going to look at it and update a letter accordingly if needed.
Okay.
Yep.
Questions on the board? Kwame?
Other than I'm just a little concerned with the eelgrass, yeah, that's about it. That's not a question, that's just a concern.
Denise?
In just reading from the report, it states that it's sprigs of eelgrass at approximately -4 to -5 feet mean low water, roughly between 211 and 218 linear feet from the shoreline, not mean low tide that you stated.
In the report on, I believe, the 5th page, they describe with an aerial image.
Pages.
Oh,
It only has 4 pages. Signed by the Environmental Consulting Restoration LLC. And it says 218 feet from the shoreline, not mean low tide.
Okay, there were exhibits attached with the letter that we did send over, and I do have a copy of it that shows all.
And
All the
that's kind of why I wanted to just get the ability to clarify this issue, because, you know, we have this information that Brian's just given us, and so now we can compare it to the report that was submitted, and maybe even I can contact that consultant and just verify what they measured from,
Yeah.
because stating from the shoreline is somewhat vague in terms of a point. So I can do that as I'm recommending a continuance anyway, so just so the board's aware of that.
Okay. Definitely want clarification on that.
Yeah, I definitely did not print all the pictures of the eelgrass underwater. I would have run out of ink. Okay, anything else, Denise?
Not at this time.
Michael?
Like Kwame, just concerned about the eelgrass. Thank you.
Carol?
No other questions, thank you.
Nicole?
No questions.
Jessica?
No questions.
My question is, what are they going to do about the encroachment that they've placed within the 30-foot no-work zone, the clearing, the placement of, what did you say?
Piles of and
seaweed
whatnot.
on the coastal bank, clearing vegetation, clearing a place to put their chairs. What about the piling of sand? Was that within the 30 feet?
No, that was
Okay.
not. I did ask Brian about that. He was going to speak to the homeowner and find out what that was all about, but that was not within the 30-foot area.
Can you ask them for the continuance, why they cleared the vegetation? And I know it was for vista pruning, so they could see the water better, but 30 foot is no work, and that was done on purpose, and we didn't expect, you're gonna have the chairs there, you just have to clear everything in order to have the chairs there. Yeah,
Yeah, I can speak on that. I did speak to the owner yesterday after meeting with Dave on site, and they did have a good reason why it appeared that way.
oh, I done, too many ticks, they wanted to get rid of the ticks.
No,
Yes.
no. It was after the storms we had last fall. The bank had eroded quite a bit. And there was a tree that they had immediately adjacent to the left of the dock, if you're looking at it from the shoreline, that all the roots were being exposed as a result of the erosion. So that was their attempt to sort of cover back up those roots because they do want to keep that tree. I understand that it's, within the 30-foot no-touch. So there was no ill intent to improve views or whatever it may be. As far as the piles of seaweed go, they're going to remove those. They had no problem with that. And the pile of sand was, that was out beyond the limit of work.
Okay.
But had no intention to.
Madam Chair, I do have one more question.
Yep.
The report also mentioned a 72B. Are they that they're gonna be coming and wanting a dock at 72B? Is that the same owner?
A different owner, potentially another dock coming on that, yeah. We did the eelgrass for both owners, yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this project? Please come forward and identify yourself. You can have a chair over here. There's a mic for you to sit at.
Can I pass this little booklet around so you people can look at it?
Yes?
My name is Marie Grandma.
You're going to have to get to the mic and then
I'm
introduce.
new at this time.
That's all right.
On this side.
On this side, yes. What,
My name is Marie Grandmont, 75 Burgess Point Road. Let's see. I
you
would
want to
like
pass out your booklet?
Yeah,
Yes.
pictures,
Yep.
photos. Should I start over here or
Yes,
to
you can start with Kwame, and he'll pass them around.
I sold this property to,
You can have a seat if you'd like.
if
Is
I
that more
can, I'll have
comfortable?
to have a hard time getting up
Okay,
again.
so-
Sorry.
Mr. White, can you hear her?
Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you.
Wait a minute. I'm too tall. I'll sit down. Oh, all right. I'm the person who sold the property to the two lots next to me, to these two people. This is Rhodes now. And I've been hearing about the problems that you have about their beach. I'm not here to stop him from having his project done, but I have some concern. Let's see. In your, on page 1, description of work, they have applied for, to install handrails between the existing piles. They're already there.
There's wire there,
Yeah.
yes, which is not as easy to hold on to if someone's walking down.
I understand that, but they're applying for that.
Yes.
It's already there. They've already put them up before they have been accepted.
When did they put them up? 'Cause I was there Saturday and there was no handrails, they were just wire.
Wire, yeah. There's wire there. You mean they're going to replace that with handrails now?
That's my understanding, they're putting in wood between the,
Yeah, that's all that was there was
Pylons.
wires.
Yeah, I did see the wires out there myself, and whether those are the intended handrails or if there is a more permanent, easier to hold on to solution for that in the future,
mean,
that's,
I'm assuming that that's the handrails they're talking about because it's down the entire length of both sides of the dock, and that would be quite expensive. Plus, I think there's probably 5 wires going down on either side. That would be kind of an expensive thing to do.
yeah, they said proposed handrails to be installed between piles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, this is an existing pier. It's an existing licensed pier, and the handrails, whether they're wire, wood, whatever they may be, aren't really going to have any impact on the wetlands. So it's in the application, but it's not really a concern in terms of wetlands impact.
Okay, and I have a problem about boulders and rocks being removed. I'm not saying they have done anything, but it's been across all the beaches. I'm sure you've noticed from time to time. It's becoming an epidemic. I just don't want boulders removed from that area. I noticed that this is in the past, and you can't do anything about that now, but a few doors down, and it's not the people who live there now, erased the entire boulder group of rocks, boulders, everything off of beach. It's just complete sand because it looks prettier. Well, now all the creatures are gone. I mean, I used to have starfish under there, and their oysters were wiped out.
No.
But I have a lot of boulders there. I just don't want them
Thank you.
moved.
I'm sure as if another project comes before us that deals with the beach, we will be checking that boulder placement and what would be there for the next 72B pier that you're saying, because we can't do anything about what has been happening, what has been
I
happening.
understand that. I'm
But I
just-
appreciate your concern and your comments.
I remember when we had our, the original dock installed, what was his name, Kenny Tripp?
Yep.
He just said to my husband, I'm just going to scooch these over a little bit, but he said, I'm not really going to take them out and move them. And it was 2 boulders.
Well, we'll watch for it in the future.
Thank you. I
you.
appreciate that, because I've been watching that even across the way at Onset Island. I mean, there's things, it's not anything to do with you people, but I'm bringing it to your attention because it seems to disrupt some of the creatures.
Yes,
We don't have as much as we used to have. I understand that.
thank you.
I do have a question about the pictures. This piece of equipment, is that over at 72A? Where was this?
No, that's just an example of them. That's gone now. It's the beach that is now a beach. This is a long time ago.
Oh, okay, this is.
Yeah, it's past, but
Okay.
it is what happens sometimes on Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings. And it seems to be,
Okay.
I never called anyone on anything before, so I'm kind of nervous about this because they are my neighbors, but I just
That's
think
all right.
at this point, things have to slow down here. And I'm not
Totally
stopping anybody from doing anything, but I had to adhere by rules, and I've seen so many people, not this group, but just over the years, I've been here 41 years and seen a lot.
Yes, and we know that it's amazing how much work is done on Saturday and Sunday when there's nobody around to hear it
Then
or
ask
see
for
it.
forgiveness.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I didn't know, yes.
Yes.
Yes. I
I'm-
appreciate your comments.
well,
Totally
I'm
been
not
there.
admonishing you people. It's a hard job you people have. I understand
you.
that. But I did come here.
Okay, so we're going
I-
to give you your book back.
Is this going to be,
It will be continued
Continue.
until November 2nd. So these are what had been there.
since 1982, I've got plenty more, but I just kind of
Nope, I just want to,
highlighted the
yep, totally see.
difference.
Everybody wants their sandy beach.
The difference in the years.
Yep,
And their docks.
and their dogs.
Everybody wants their docks.
Okay,
And I would like to comment about the eelgrass also, and the sweepings of the beach. I mean, it's like nobody wants seaweed. I mean, the grasses come up and they do feed the critters. And I've seen it over the years. The minute it comes up, they're raking, no one in particular, but it's an epidemic. They're raking everything up and throwing it away, and
totally, yep. Seaweed, well, they have bugs in it, and they bring the flies, and they don't,
they
if they're in
feed
their
the
beach.
critters, you
Yes,
know?
if they're on their beach sunbathing, they don't want to be disturbed by the smell of rotting seaweed. Okay.
Oh.
So, thank you. Anybody else would like to comment? She's waiting for her book to go around. And in the meantime, we're going to continue until November 2nd. Is that good for you?
That works for us. Yep.
Okay. I need a motion.
Motion to continue till November 2nd?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. We're continuing until the 2nd of November.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want these back or these?
You can hold on to those.
Okay.
The next hearing, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
You all
I'll
right?
get up, thank you. I think.
Thank you.
Okay, the notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw.
Thank you.
Division 6 of public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. Wednesday, October 19th, 2022 at 6:30 PM. For notice of intent for Richard E. and Audrey Creighton, JC Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, to construct 2 additions located on the Assessor's Map 2, Lot 267, 24 Cove Street, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. And who's here representing this project?
Good evening, Brad Bertolo with JC Engineering.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette will read to the project. Okey dokey.
Yeah, I guess that's fine.
I don't need it.
He uses his
Yeah,
laptop.
Tom usually, what, is on the computer.
I hope, okay.
The project site is at 24 Cove Street, and the project involves the construction of additions within a coastal flood zone and within the buffer zone to a coastal bank at this site. 2 additions, one that's 4 by 13 feet in size and a second that's 5 by 9, are proposed on the front of the house, in the front corner of the house as shown on the plan, and this is within flood zone AE elevation 14. The closest of the 2 additions would be 54 feet from the edge of the coastal bank, which is a seawall. Part of the additions would be built over what are existing block patios. The area is a very flat area, and there's no grade changes proposed. Hay bales and silt fence are proposed between the work and the seawall on each side of the house. We did get a DEP file number for this project, so I would recommend the issuance of the order of conditions with the standard conditions for this project.
Brad, anything to add?
That sums it up nicely.
When did you stake it?
I didn't.
I noticed.
So did I.
Same here.
You can't see it in the field? Right there.
I walked around the house, couldn't figure out where you were building anything.
That's right here on the plan.
Yeah.
And we asked that it be staked, so, but, okay, Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Denise,
It just that I was out and there was no stakes and I couldn't figure out where they were putting anything. That was all, Mr. Bertolo.
Michael,
Other than the staking issue, that's it.
Carol,
No questions, thank you.
Nicole,
No questions, thank you.
Jessica.
No questions, thanks.
I thought we've told all the engineers, give it a stake when it's placed in the paper so people can know where, including us, know where it's going to go. Yes.
It's not a vacant lot, so
Oh, I know. I know. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this project? I'm seeing none. What is the wish of the board?
Move to close the hearing.
I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 We're closed. The hearing is closed.
Move to accept with a standard order of conditions and the knowledge that Mr. Bertolo will put stakes in the future.
Because we have continued projects.
have.
Because they
Oh,
have
I
not
know.
been staked.
I know.
Yes, so, okay. So that's the motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, it's done, it's approved. See Mr. Bichette for your paperwork before you start.
Thank you.
Okay?
Appreciate it.
That's your one freebie.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
Next one.
pretty straightforward.
Next one, please.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, excuse me, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Division 6, a public hearing will be held in room 320 Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. On Wednesday, October 19, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. For notice of intent for John Boone, JMBOM, Safe Harbor Marina, Onset Bay, Morel Engineers and Land Surveyors, 26 Union Street, Plymouth, Mass. 02360, to construct a bulkhead and pad and to install new boat racks located on Assessors Map 3, Lot 101418 Green Street, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Please identify yourself, who's representing this project.
Madam Chairwoman, my name is Tom Pazerski from Merrill Engineers in Plymouth, and I'm the applicant's engineer. We have John Boone here, the general manager for Safe Harbors Onset Bay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's not strange.
And for the record, we heard this hearing and approved it, but unfortunately, the abutter notification was incomplete. So we approved this on September 7th. But we are here as a new hearing because of the notification of abutters. Mr. Bichette?
So again, the project site is at 18 Green Street at the Safe Harbor Marina, or the Onset Bay Marina for those who have been around longer. The project involves the reconstruction of the bulkhead, which would be the coastal bank, the removal and replacement of the concrete pad, and also replacement of the boat racks in the buffer zone to land under the ocean, coastal bank, and within a coastal flood zone. The existing concrete bulkhead, which is approximately 330 feet in length, is to be replaced with a steel sheet bulkhead. The existing concrete pad and boat racks inside the bulkhead would also be replaced. The existing bulkhead would be removed in sections and replaced with the steel piles. Once in place, a new crushed stone base would be installed and new concrete pad poured in that same location. New steel boat storage racks would also be installed in the same general area as they currently exist. There are also new stormwater structures being incorporated into the design, which are shown on the plan that you have in front of you. And as we just heard from Madam Chair, the project was reviewed previously, and the commission ultimately did approve it, but since the abutter issue came up where it was learned that certain abutters did not get proper notification, the applicant resubmitted the application to be heard again with the new set of abutters being notified. So this is where we are at the moment. I would make the same recommendation that once we had this final revised plan, that I recommended approval of the project based on the most current revised plan that is dated September 7th, 2022.
Thank you. Tom, John, anything to add?
Yeah, Dave called me and said, hey, I think some abutters weren't notified, and that could be grounds for an appeal. I completely agreed. We looked it up. He was correct. For some reason, the wrong address was certified. So as soon as I hung up the phone with him, I filled out a new certification list and then sent that down to the assessor's office. We got it certified pretty quick. And then we went and we paid the appropriate fees for the ad. We re-notified the correct abutters this time. And I said it would only be fair to have the neighbors hear the entire project. And it is in the same footprint. It has less impervious area. And we are proposing some decent stormwater quality improvements, which would be great for the environment. Deep sump catch basins, hydrodynamic separators, and then stone infiltration area. So you're gonna end up with, like I said, less impervious area for runoff to go. And the runoff that does come off the pad will go to the stormwater treatment system. And it does have a long-term stormwater treatment program in place for it. And it's in the same exact footprint, it's just the stuff is old, it's fallen down, and needs replacing.
Thank you.
Yep.
I will ask for questions. Kwame?
No, I went to the site this summertime, and it definitely needs the upgrades I just want to say that it's definitely something that I definitely approve for this particular project, absolutely.
Denise,
I agree with Kwame.
Michael,
Again, same with the previous two. I went in the summer and used to be up to
Carol,
Same.
Nicole,
No questions, I'm good.
Jessica.
No questions.
I'm going to ask the audience if there's anybody here that comment, and I'll have to ask you to limit yourself to the project that's on the plan
Or to wetlands issues.
or to wetland issues. So I saw the hand in the back first.
Would you like us to?
As long as you give them one place to sit, they'll be fine.
Hello. Hello, my name's Frank Uccioli, 1 Maple Ave. I'd like this whole thing to be tabled for the reason of, after I got notified with a phone call yesterday, I believe it was, about today's meeting, I'm 50 foot within the boundary. I have not been notified. All these people right here have not been notified. That was from a phone call. That's everybody that's abutting on Maple Ave.
Do we have the
Street.
green cards?
Yes.
I don't know who was notified except one person, which was John and Beth.
This is the second time we've gone to the assessors and had this list certified by them. So I don't know exactly what's going on, because this is 18 Green Street. This is the complete, we sent the
Watch your feet.
certified list.
Let me just see what you had. Let me,
And we don't do the certifications, we give them the address.
Could you spell
by
your
the
last
town
name
this
for me,
time.
please?
Sure, it's URCIUOLI.
If that is the case, what I would like to do is I'll leave this pad of paper out, and people can put their name.
Well, there's a lot of people that couldn't make it tonight because they already had a pre-arrangement.
The idea, if we find that looking at your address
Yep.
or their addresses, take it to the assessors and find out why you weren't notified. So by having your name and address, it will help him identify your location.
Oh, I got you
I
saying.
don't want to.
Yeah, we give them
Just need
the
a-
address, and they do the certification.
So, here's Maple Ave. All these houses right here, nobody got notified right here. From my understanding, we went and
This
talked to
line
all
right
of them,
here, you got
and they weren't notified.
Maybe that's because they're looking at this as a separate parcel because of the roadway in it?
Could very well be.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
'Cause they're
I'm
not-
fine with it. I'll explain the project to anybody. But I don't do the certification. I give them the client the address, and then they certify it, and then we send out the notices.
Because it says it's 100 feet of map 3, lot 1014.
That certification should, I think, have the map that they did off the GIS, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
so I guess the question is that the bulkhead is on a given lot, then there's the paper street, and then there's another lot. So the question is, do the abutters need to be notified that are next to the lot across the paper street? So I would say the project is on this one particular lot. That's what you're measuring your 100 feet from, not from the lot on the other side of the paper street.
Sometimes called Campbell Street. You're familiar with it. You can see the old water gates and stuff that go down there.
I didn't know there was separate lots. I thought it was all one lot
Yeah,
considered
and
by
that
the
might
same
be the
thing.
issue.
Have you
Yeah.
looked at the plan closely? If you
No,
look at it,
actually, I haven't.
take a look now.
Yeah, because here's a parcel here, and then there's a lot here. Here's the street.
This is the
And then there's
Activity's
this house.
taking place. This is
So the
not
address
changing.
for the marina, if you look on the assessors,
Mind if I turn this? Because I think
you
everybody
can,
go
behind
ahead.
it,
absolutely.
because I know they're very interested, because nobody knows what's going on.
So what it is that your property is not does not abut.
We give them the address to certify. The address is 18 Green Street. This parcel, where the project is on 18 Green Street. So that's what they certify, is anybody that's within 100 feet of this parcel here. So that's what we took and we notified. So you could be out of that 100-foot area, and that's why you're not notified, because you're within the right-of-way, which is probably 30 feet, and the lot is over 90 feet deep. So that could be the
David,
problem.
nothing's happening here. That's what the-
I know, Mr. White, you can't, I know, Mr. White, you can't, sorry, folks. We're gonna have, this is being recorded, it's online, so we need you to address it to the microphone. So what you're saying is that because there's no work in that back piece of property off of Campbell,
Yes.
that's why you're not notified, because you're not abutting the property that is being modified.
And the state regulation says people within 100 feet of the project.
But nothing is happening up here.
Because all the work's being done in the,
You need,
because all the work's being done in the water.
you need to
Madam
sit,
Chair.
wait, you need to sit. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Tom, you need to sit.
Sorry.
You showed it to that, now you have a comment to make?
Yes, Madam
Wait a
Chair.
second, Mr. Pichette.
Mr. Uccioli, did you have further comments? You still had the floor, so if you still have questions, then you still could ask your questions.
I do, and honestly, I've never been to one of these, so you did say to keep it to this, but I feel there's other violations, which I have pictures, which should be concerning to you guys. And it's very important, because it's not just me, it's the neighborhood, of different things that have gone on, which again, I'm not an expert, but we feel it's within the wetlands of taking down trees within 100 foot of the waterway. Digging dirt, putting dirt into a low area where on a moon tide, the water can come up and go down. It's always wet there. On top of having structures in the wetlands, because you can see cat and eye tails there with the boat structures. And I just, again, me and David have talked over the last year about different things. I was just kind of the voice, but of the neighborhood. And honestly, we started out with a couple of trees were taken down. Now they're all gone, all of them, on the hill.
And are you talking about along what would be this paper street and that back lot?
Yep.
Okay.
And if I could, I mean, I can explain these, but if you guys want to take a look, these are pictures that we took yesterday of different things. You can see how these structures are unsafe with multiple boats on them, where kids are in the neighborhood, and you can see where those structures are. It's wetlands, it's wet, it's soft.
Right.
You're gonna,
Sorry. I'm sorry.
thank you, Mr. White.
Right, so as far as the boat racks and potential safety hazards, that's something that would have to be addressed again through the building inspector.
I fully understand, but I feel it's somewhat in the wetlands, which is partly,
Right, I've discussed this matter with the marina as far as some of these issues that you're describing. So they have removed piles of dirt that they placed there. They were told that that had to come out of there. They did remove it. As far as the tree cutting goes, the extent of that, from what I've seen, was limited to the back edge of where they store boats and whatnot. Is that where you're kind of referring to?
it's right next to where Maple Ave is, and there's a mound of dirt there, which they have cut into the back of it, which I was told no dirt would be touched.
Well, I told them they had to remove a certain amount that was
No, that's
illegally
the
placed
pile that
there.
was in the wet, low area, yes, I understand that. This is all along the back, you'll see that they put Jersey barriers, I believe that's what they call them, the cement barriers. But cutting all the vegetation now, if we ever have a storm surge, where does that dirt end up? In our houses? If the tide comes up and goes out, there's no vegetation, you're taking the vegetation away to secure that hill.
Yeah, and that's something I'll have to look at a little more closely, because I didn't realize there was that significant of an extent, but we can talk about that. And maybe that can be explained as to why that was done.
And there's one other thing, in the heavy rainstorm we had in August, I live right on the bay, and when it was pouring out, all of a sudden, in front of my house turned brown. Come to find out, the 50-ton fork truck crushed the drainage system in the parking lot, or in the actual public road, because there was a big sinkhole there, and all that was done is, from what I understand, and I'm not 100% sure, gravel was filled in, there's a picture of new gravel. But all that dirt and silt went into the bay. And now, I was told, again, I'm not 100% sure, 2 years ago, the taxpayers paid to fix that drain. And now that drain is broken again, and it just disappeared.
Yeah, that's something, we don't have knowledge of, so we were not going to be able to answer that at the moment, but we can certainly look into that matter and find out what the story is.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You want your pictures back?
If you guys like to take a look at them, yeah, take them
Well,
back.
we'll
If you want to
swing
keep them, that's fine.
No, I didn't see it either. It's over on the other side. Do you want-
So these pictures are from the paper road
Yeah.
do you want
to the back lot where... Thank you. Okay, where boats are stored.
Yeah, in this back corner.
Okay, in that corner. Okay, somebody else would like to speak to the project?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is, on all of these parcels, is there common ownership, same owner for all of the parcels? Mm-hmm. So it's vested exactly the same way? Mm-hmm.
Yes, please identify yourself.
Yes, my name's Michael Gelbrantz. I live at 54 Andrew Street, and I abut the back of the Onset Bay Marina. And
Spell your last name for me, please.
Gullbrants.
Thank you.
And in their proposal, it just says, as well as new boat racks. And I have two pictures I want to just send around. This is when you have a high tide, that's what happens. These boat racks, I live 54 Andrew Street. I worked hard my whole life, served in the service, United States Navy. And I worked hard to buy, my dream was to buy a beach house. I have a little tiny water view. Before this gentleman came by, Greg was the general manager, came to my house and said, Mike, we're gonna move the boat racks, you're gonna have a much better view, it's gonna increase the value of your property. Then he moved higher up, and Mr. Boone came in, who's a great guy, and, but now these racks are gonna be a lot higher. Not 3 high, 4 high. And they have, no one's ever told me how high each section's gonna be, but they're gonna be 10 feet, it's gonna be over 40-something feet tall.
I think these are questions for the building department because that's outside of what we know. We have no access to that information because we only deal with what's touching the ground.
And.
Well, these racks are touching the ground.
Right, but view
Sorry.
issues and construction issues are building inspector issues. We can't deny a project or condition a project because it impacts someone's view. That's beyond our authority or ability. So that's not something we have any regulatory authority to do.
So where's my next step?
If you have a concern that something's not meeting a zoning requirement in terms of its height, then you speak to the building inspector. He's the one that would address such a matter. Yeah.
All right. But I sent those pictures so you can look at them. As much as those are the boats, but that's the boat pad they want to replace. It actually should be higher because when you get a high tide, you can see how those boats, and my boat's in there, it says Little Eva, they get flooded out.
Yeah, it's definitely in a flood zone, there's no question about that, but there's no way they could raise it high enough based on where they are. Even if they raise it up a couple of feet, there's gonna be storms, it's still gonna get flooded, you know? Unfortunately, that's just the nature of being on the water like that.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very kindly, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to comment on this project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
It's okay.
Hi, I'm Bill Bogan, 17 Maple.
I'm sorry, last name?
Bill
again?
Bogans, B-O-G-I-N-S, 17 Maple. I only have one question, and that relative to that drain pipe that's coming across, that actually takes water from Sherbuck Lane, Maple Street, and goes through some folks' yard, and then comes into what was, I guess, this paper road, which I'm not sure what that means. It's a town road
It just
that
means,
has town infrastructure.
it just means it's not a constructed road that somebody could drive on. It's just on paper. It's not something that's built, if you will.
But it has town infrastructure underneath it.
It may have that, but that doesn't mean it's a constructed street.
But what my concern is that drainage water that's coming from Cherbuck, which is now not going anywhere, coming over to Maple Street in front of Chris and Chelsea's house, I forget what their last name is. You know Chris and Chelsea. And other people's houses is just ponding because it's got nowhere to go. So presuming it gets over into, somehow it's probably getting over into that paper road where it's stopping. So that water is gonna just hydrologically flow underground and just create more wet, muddy space down there? Am I missing something? That water's gotta go somewhere.
Well, stormwater drains is a big issue.
Yeah,
That one's gone.
right, if there is a problem with the stormwater system, then that would have to be addressed by the municipal maintenance department and the property owner that's next to it. So yes, that would have to be dealt with.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is if that water is undermining either the asphalt that's there or where they're gonna move racks to or put equipment on, as Frank said, stuff can just tip over on people.
Right,
So that's my concern, because I walk through there
right,
to go to my boat
yeah.
at the marina.
Yeah, the boat rack issue has been brought up to Mr. Boone in terms of that one that's in the back there. And it was explained that that is to be relocated.
Yes, it's been relocated onto the asphalt, and it's temporary for this winter, for this project, to take all
Yeah, I
the
saw the
boats
one-
out and go out there, and then when they're rebuilt, they go back.
Right.
The drainage issue has been going, it's documented for many, many years. There's a problem that the town knows about, and they were supposed to fix it 5 years ago or so, and it's broken. I think I pointed it out to you
Right.
originally. That's, it will be addressed if and when we ever do the other phases over there. It has to, because it's broken.
I guess my point is does that being the way it is, and subsurface water flowing underneath there create unsafe conditions in that area for the storage of anything heavy that could cause injury, bodily injury, or physical damage to people or property?
Yes, Tom?
Just so you know, this project, it's all gonna be pretty much land-based to rebuild that thing. We'll put the turbidity barrier out, it'll be done in sections, we'll take it out. That whole area is gonna be set on a new pile fill with pile caps and dead men and everything else. It's gonna be tied back in concrete. So that area in itself is gonna be its own stabilized area that has the drainage in it and everything else brand new. So there's not really an opportunity because of the sheet pilings for anything to get in and out of there and take things out. I mean, there's gonna have matting underneath there and everything else, so, that other stuff's out of the way.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the new project area, but where the work's gonna take place, but I think this gentleman is referring to the boat rack that's in the back that isn't really.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. My apologies.
Actually, not just that one, if I can say.
You'll have to come up and speak into the microphone, please, or Mr. White will yell at me. He has the power of the meeting.
Again, I don't know the details of the project at all. So the existing boat racks that are down by the bulkhead now, when that bulkhead work is going on, where are those racks gonna go? And so my concern is that they're gonna go back where
No,
that.
those are gonna go in a dumpster.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
They go away.
Yeah, they've had it. That whole bulkhead and concrete ramp area's had it. It's fallen over. We want to fix it before it falls over.
That's my concern was anything associated with this project that's going to go over there and creating an unsafe condition.
Because this project is not near Maple Ave.
Well, he was concerned that maybe they would place some racks over
Yeah, I
there
see what you're saying.
temporarily.
Yeah.
But that's not gonna happen. They're just gonna cut those up and get them out of there, build the project, and then build new racks after the new pad is in place.
So the activity on that piece of land off of Maple is going to remain as it is now. You're not changing anything there. what you do in that section of the corner of Maple and the Manamet Street.
Maple and Maple.
Well, Maple and, yeah, the paper
Or
road.
whatever the paper road
That, you're
is.
not changing anything in there. You're not building anything new. You're just going to continue to use it as you have been using it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Again, all I'm saying is with that water that's supposed to
Yep.
be going somewhere, is it just
I mean,
underneath there?
We can ask you to address it to municipal maintenance and say, we've got to do something with the drainage coming off of, oh, what's that road? That
Well, Maple and Nanamit,
Manamet.
or Campbell, it's called on here.
That road has had many names.
Yeah,
from
it's got
my
a
research.
couple names on here right now.
And the one that's hard to find that we have a complaint every once in a while in their front
Sherbuck?
yard, Sherbuck. Yes, that's the one I have
That's
a tough
around the
time
corner on
finding.
the
It's
other
Sherbuck.
side.
That's got a subsided.
Yes, that's got its own drain issue in that area, yeah.
That's all,
Thank
I'm
you.
concerned about safety.
Got it.
That's my
Got it.
thing.
Appreciate
That's
it.
what I
Thank
do.
you.
So-
Anybody else? Yes, please come forward, the blue man in the blue shirt.
Jim Morrissey, 26 Maple Street.
Okay,
I've been a summer resident for over 35 years on Gray Street, right across from the marina, and now a permanent resident on 26 Maple Street. That is not a paper road, that was an existing road. There was 3 cottages on that road about 25, 30 years ago. And they were bought by the marina at that time. I don't know if it was Skip or after Skip was sold to the Japanese. And they raised the homes and the cottages, and they took the road and they made that a parking lot, okay? And now they use that as a parking lot and also for boat storage, okay? So it's not a paper road, it's an existing road.
I think I was referring to the part that goes behind the metal building that's basically a swamp. That's
Correct.
what
Well,
that's what I was talking about,
Okay,
not
that one.
not the parking lot. I understand what you're saying there. That is a built area.
All right. So my second question to this committee is, how far is, I mean, this is a business that they're running, and I have nothing against what they're doing. I think it's the appropriate thing to do to rebuild that bulkhead, because it's collapsing. And I think they have good engineering plans there. But how far is your scope going? Because they're going to have to move those boats off of those racks, and they're going to have to put them somewhere. And they're going to have to put them on racks, and they're going to be putting them on temporary storage. And they're putting it on wetland and the storm drain that's already been crushed, that goes out to the bay. And I would think that would be a concern of the committee.
well, will you put them up in poppets and put it down in the back section? I mean, they're going on poppets, right?
Well,
Will you?
the temporary racks are on the concrete, on
Yeah.
the asphalt in the backyard.
Yeah.
That's not true. The temporary racks are not on concrete, they're not anchored down, they're
Well,
on mud.
They will be anchored down, and there is
They're
concrete
used.
underneath that. I mean, it gets wet and it's at the bottom of the hill, but you scrape it out
So-
and there's asphalt.
We got pictures showing there's absolutely no concrete under these racks. And manufacturer
There's no-
specs will tell you, you have to put a concrete footing. You can't just have a rack sitting there floating.
I'm
Right,
sorry.
so again, this is an issue that the building inspector has been made aware of, and he's going to look into this issue, and this has been addressed already by myself to the building inspector.
Just to let
So-
you know, one of these racks is right next to an 18,000-gallon fuel cell, unsupported. And for the last year, I've called the building department, I've talked to David, I've talked to multiple people, and nothing has happened. So our frustration as the street is they're trying to get something passed when all these other violations are happening. We'd like something to be done with the violations first before we go any further with any of this, because our lives are at safety, our homes that we saved money for to buy could be at safety with taking all the trees down and the growth and everything else. Nothing's being addressed. And that's our biggest frustration, I think. Sorry.
Thank you. Are you?
I'm
Is there
done.
anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to comment on this project? You've been up once already. Is there anything new you'd like to add?
It's a question for the committee.
Okay, come forward and then,
In the proposal, it says, and I want your clarification, the bulkheads, it needs to be done. Like I say, I have a boat over there, and it's in tough shape. My concern is it says, as well as new boat racks. Are they going to give us any specifications? How high, how long, how
I
wide?
believe we indicated you have to go to the building department. We do not have that information here.
Well, why should that be on this here and get approved?
We're,
We don't address that.
Because it's in the footprint of an area that's under our jurisdiction, so we're looking at the footprint and what that activity is going to do in terms of altering that area in terms of ground alteration. As far as how high it is, that's not really relevant to our concerns.
Well,
So-
to me, it seems very irrelevant because it says, as well as new boat racks. Shouldn't they give us measurements, how long, how tall?
that's part
I
of
mean, we
their
don't have
building-
anything.
Part of the
Yeah, they
building
have to
plan.
meet the building zoning height requirement. If they don't, then they're not in compliance.
Okay, thank
We
you.
only deal with what's on the ground.
And the only reason I make an issue about that is because I bought the house on 54 Andrew Street. I have a little bit of view. I have to look at the top boat rack. And talking to the
Yep.
guys at the marina, it's going to be two more high.
Do not
I
know.
won't
You
have any
have to go
view.
to the building department.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for comments? Yes, please, the gentleman halfway up the aisle.
Good evening. Howard Guggenheim.
You'll have to, when you're seated, if you could say your name again so they can get into the mic.
Howard Guggenheim, 22 Prospect Street. And you keep referring to, it's an issue for the building inspector and the building department. But all this activity that's going on is affecting, you know, the buffer zone, the wetlands itself. I don't know, have they applied for a variance with the zoning board for the height of the,
Do not know.
we don't know,
We do not know.
But the thing is, it's in the buffer. The fact that the height of the boat racks is important to your considerations because of all the activity that's going to be going on in that buffer zone.
Right, and that
that's
part
what-
is what we've addressed. We have addressed that. We've reviewed that, and that area is completely altered already. It's concrete and steel, and there's no natural feature within that whatsoever.
I'm referring to like the picture shown at high tide for the boat racks where the water is coming up, right up to the racks.
That's right.
And I mean, there's activity going on. I would think, and especially in light of the fact that what the other residents have told you, there's a lot of considerations that you keep referring to the building department, but it's within your purview to look into some of these matters because it does affect the wetland. It affects the integrity of the wetland. And to just pass it off as a building inspector issue is just not your,
We have no jurisdiction over how high those racks
Oh,
are.
forget
We
about the
only
height.
deal with what is wetland, what is on the ground, and whether or not that rack is being built 10 feet high or 200 feet high.
Well, there's
We
a-
only care.
I understand.
We only can control what is in our bylaws.
I understand.
Yes,
But,
okay.
but if I were building something that might be a building department issue, but affects a wetland, it would be in your purview. But aside from that, you know, we can take that up with the zoning enforcement officer or the
Yes.
building inspector.
Okay.
But I guess the point is, I believe that there are a lot of the issues that have been raised tonight is within your purview, and you're passing it off to the building
No,
department.
the only thing we're passing off is the height issue. All the other issues, we do agree are issues that have to be addressed.
Thank
And
you.
to ask, do we know how high these boat racks are proposed to be? Do you guys know that yet?
We don't know.
Oh, yes,
Okay, and what would be the height?
40 feet.
Okay.
From ground to top,
I think the town's 45.
45, it's 45.
Okay, so that's, you know, that's something the building inspector, once they apply for
That's fine.
approvals, will have to review, and if they feel they're in compliance, then they are. If they feel that they're not, then they're gonna have to go before the zoning board and get
I
a
agree. No,
request a
that-
variance.
That, he just resolved a lot of the unanswered questions
Okay,
right
thank
there.
you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would have to comment, come forward, that has not already been addressed?
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. I'm Louise Savetti. I'm representing Tammy Young at 30 Maple Street. And the concern is where the temporary racks are, which are within the buffer zone, and the vegetation that was removed all around that area, which is not part of the project. So I don't know, you said that you had approved this back in September, and I'm not quite sure if all the vegetation was removed after that approval, pending the oncoming project. But where the temporary boat racks are there grease and oil separators for any of the diesel fuel? I mean, this is all a concern for this neighborhood as well.
Would you be willing to answer that question regarding the temporary storage of the boats coming off the racks? Their concern is dripping.
The boats that are in the racks are outboard engine boats, and they're very, very clean, but their racks are where normal boats sat every winter before that, on the ground.
Okay.
So,
Does that answer your question?
Well, so there's no protection for the temporary racks?
And they're saying they're all outboard motors and they are self-contained.
Okay. Could I address the removal of all the vegetation? That was not part of the project?
No, that
So
was
it's
not part of the
within wet-
project. I
it's
don't know
within-
when it was removed.
Just recently. So it's within that wetlands buffer, all of the vegetation along the residential area.
Okay, that's outside of the
Well-
project we were looking at, but
Right, is that something that can be explained, what the purpose of cutting that was for?
it was overhanging where we store boats. And we left the primary nice trees and cut the scruffy trees back. It's up on that, where we put that new boundary fence in that corner. We just basically cut the scruff trees down and left the nice, I think they're oak trees.
so there was some clearing of vegetation within the 100-foot buffer.
I'm not sure where that,
Some clearing, there were
On the corner of Maple.
Maple Street and Maple Ave.
In back in the area where the sheds were?
Tom, can you pull your plan up
up on
again?
that berm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
cleared the scruff out, because it was,
I need you to take a look at Murphy Street, and you see that semicircle for the 100 and the green line?
Kwame.
We talking about over here?
Yes, I understand that's where they're talking the vegetation was removed.
would have been the 100-foot buffer, not the 50-foot buffer. It's on that 100-foot.
Wait a minute, Mr. White, they're not talking about anything right now, so she'll return to her seat with her question. She was just looking at the plan.
I was asked to show where the vegetation was removed on the map, and I showed at the corner of the 100-foot
Tom, you see what she was
buffer.
mentioning?
Yeah, she's referring to the property that is 30 Maple Street along the back side of the property, correct?
That back corner?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's right at the 100-foot buffer area, or outside
It's-
of it, yeah.
So that clearing should have been brought before us before it was done, because it was in the 100-foot.
If it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
It definitely is, and we left the two nice oak trees, and then there was like 4 scruffy, this big.
Tree is a tree.
Should have notified Mr. Pichette before you cleared.
Okay.
I need this young lady's name. I didn't.
Louise Civetti, representing Tammy Young at 30 Maple.
Tammy Young, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anything else? All right,
Thank you.
please. If there's something new to be covered, please come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Coe, and we have the house at 5 Maple Ave.
You'll have to, that last name will have to be a little slower so Denise can
Yeah,
write it
I
down.
need it.
Coe, C-O-E. I just thought I'd mention, we live at 5 Maple Ave. We have a summer house there. I grew up in Wareham. I was born and raised here and moved away, and now we have a summer house here again, so it's nice to be back. I've talked to Mr. Boone about the fence that's there. They put the new fence, and it's made our life very difficult. We can barely get out of our area to back up and
So
turn
the
around.
issue is the placement of the fence?
I just like to mention that. I'm not sure if I'm quite trusting them because I feel like we're being crowded out of that area between the marina and everything else. It's such a tight area. I feel like that area is being crowded out. I mean, we can barely even turn our cars around to get out of there. So I worry about what else is going to happen. And that's it. That's my concern.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Can you show me where you are in relation to what's going on in that?
Right here. We're right in the front of the water. There's one house and then there's the marina right there. It's just a very tight area to even turn around.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the question would be whether or not the fence was placed on the property line with setbacks as appropriate.
Well, Mr. Pazerski can probably respond. This is a surveyed, engineered stamp plan that shows the property lines of where they exist. So if the fence was placed on the property line, then that's legal to do. They can put a fence on the property line.
The fence is inside our property.
Okay, so you have a small setback from the property line?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anybody other comment on this project? I see none. We close the hearing unless the commissions would like to add anything? Okay.
Move to close the hearing?
I have a motion to close the hearing and a second. All in
Second.
favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
We have 21 days from the close of the hearing. Do you need to address any of the
There's
issues that
nothing-
came up?
Is there any issue here that's associated with the plans that weren't placed in front of us?
The cutting of some trees.
Not on our plan.
Not on the plan?
It's not on the plan.
But
I mean, it's something that we can, you could look at as an enforcement order after the fact, but nothing to do with what was presented to us. So we can ask Mr. Bichette to check it out to see if it has to come before it as an enforcement order.
Chet, will you do that?
Yeah, no, these issues should be looked into, and that way we can provide some answers, and if there are some corrective actions that have to take place, then that's what'll have to happen.
Okay, but we need to move to accept this project as it is before us.
Yes.
Outside of what the other
Yes.
issues are. So accept with.
This is
Standard.
regarding the proposed bulkhead replacement and storage
Just a
racks.
standard order of conditions.
Can I just, is notice an issue here? Do we have a notice problem? No, is
We do
notice-
not
No, we
believe
do
so.
not.
Well, if the issue is that the abutters that were notified regarding the actual lot where the work is taking place were notified, then we don't have an issue, which is what the engineer is saying. Any abutters that are abutting the other lot across the paper street, half-constructed street, whatever you want to call it, would not technically need to be notified because the work isn't going on that particular lot. Is that, you following that?
I definitely follow, but a strict reading of the bylaws would say property line of the applicant. And where we have multiple lots here, and I just am not sure how that's handled when it's, what gets certified when it goes to the assessor, when they have multiple contiguous lots. Is it just the parcel where the work is being done?
Typically, that is the case because somebody could own 50 lots and they could all be separated by streets. They could own property in the whole neighborhood, but typically you're notifying within 100 feet of the lot where the work is actually taking place, not all lots that the applicant owns.
Not all that they own, but where they're contiguous, do you have a merger issue?
Well, that would be, I guess, a legal question to understand, but normally we've only addressed the lot where the work is taking place.
Okay.
Now the hearing is closed. Thank you.
So it's up to the commission. If you want to get further clarification on that issue, then you certainly can do that. There's no problem with continuing the hearing if that's what the
Well,
commission
we've-
wants to do.
We have 21 days to come to a
Right, so you have 21 days to issue the order of conditions. So in that meantime, before the next meeting, if you want to have this issue figured out, then you can do that.
Okay, I think we should.
Well, see, I feel we can issue the order of conditions for this lot and then have come before us an enforcement order when Mr. Prichette has looked at this clearing that has occurred. They're two separate entities.
So you're
But I think
separating
the-
the entities, but.
But I think the issue that's being raised by Jessica is that
Is-
she's stating that even
not.
for the project, possibly the abutters
Well,
may
who
not have
owns,
been,
who owns the street between the two lots?
have no idea.
The town.
The town, so it's not a continuous piece of property, since the town, I'm sorry, folks,
But the boats are being stored
sorry,
around the abutters area, which is part
I'm
of the-
sorry. The hearing is closed. So, do you feel we should,
If the town owns the street that's in the middle of the two lots, then the lots are not contiguous lots. So therefore, again, as I mentioned before, you've got the lot where the work is being proposed, that's where you've got your 100-foot notification for that particular lot.
Using this lot? Are you using the street? Boat rack. Do we need to get clarification from council?
Again, we certainly can do that. That's easy enough to do. I can speak to the town council and ask them that question. We have 21 days, as I said, to issue a decision, and so if that's what you want to do, then I certainly can do that.
so the question is whether or not the property on the other side of the street is considered contiguous, and therefore those
I mean, if we're to follow it, we would be looking at all these parcels, right? All of these parcels are contiguous, even if you excluded parcel number 3.
So,
So you, in order for notice to be, it's, what is proper notice is the question. Who needs to be noticed if it's all of these lots
So,
and not just the?
yeah, we
the one.
give the assessors our map and lot number and ask them to tell us who's within, who is the abutters. So the question is, should have more lots have been considered in the abutter notification?
Yeah.
Correct.
So if that's a question, then we
If
should
that's the
speak
question,
to the town council and get
Then,
that response.
I will take a motion that we allow Mr. Bichette to speak to town council, and then we'll have to ask the chairman of the BOS for that approval. We cannot go to council without approval of the board and of the BOS chair.
So
What would you like to do?
I think we need clarification.
Okay, so the hearing has concluded, and we will now take the issue to Mr. Bowen regarding the notification of abutters based on that contiguous discussion in the bylaw. All right, so I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve and a second to contact Mrs. Whiteside as the BOS chair to get time with Mr. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? All right. So we'll see you on 11/2 with what we've identified.
Okay, so it's a continued hearing?
No,
Well, no,
the hearing is
been
closed.
So technically, you don't need to
You
appear.
don't have to come back. But Mr. Bichette will speak to you about the clearing in the wetlands for an enforcement order after he reviews the site.
Yeah, and if you could just let us know the decision, because we didn't make the decision on who to notify. We told them the address, so if it
Yes,
does involve
totally
everything else,
understand.
that would be great to know in the future, because I don't care who gets notified. We're
Yep.
happy to present the project. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll put this on the next agenda, but not as a continued
For discussion.
for discussion
Thank you. All right, thank you.
and vote.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're on a continued hearing. I stated early on that we would have a that 17 Murphy Street and Faring Hill have asked for a continuance, just in case those that might have come in late came to hear Faring Hill, but it's continued. The next hearing is Dawn Beatty at 16
We have not, but
Have
we
not-
will.
Because it's not on, it's coming.
We haven't gotten to it yet. Yeah.
The next one is Beatty, I believe. We were waiting for a DEP filing.
Yes.
This is Don Beatty, so you have to, please
Hold on.
identify yourself that's supporting the project.
Good evening, Brad Bertolo, JC Engineering.
Okay, Mr. Pichette will read to the project at 16 Fisherman Cove Road. Yep.
So this project is at 16 Fisherman Cove Road, and the project involves upgrading a septic system in the buffer zone to a coastal bank, a coastal beach, a coastal dune, and within a coastal flood zone. The existing system is to be replaced with a new Title V nitrogen-reducing system, approximately 50 feet from the edge of the coastal bank and dune, and within flood zone VE elevation 17. The new system would be constructed adjacent to the paved driveway in existing lawn area. At the last meeting, we had continued the hearing because we did not have a DEP file number, which we have now received. So I would recommend the issuance of the order of conditions to upgrade the septic system with the standard order of conditions.
Brad, anything to add?
No, that's
Questions? Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
No questions.
Michael?
None?
Harold?
No questions.
Cole?
Questions?
Jessica?
No questions.
I have none. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to comment on this project? I'm seeing none.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Move to accept the project with standard order of conditions.
Second.
I have a motion to accept it and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Before you start any work, get your paperwork from Mr. Pichette.
Thank you.
Okay,
Take it easy.
it's coming down. All right, the next one is Connor Cormer,
Comrie.
thank you, say it again.
Comrie.
Comrie, at 33 Prospect Street, come on down. Is there anybody here representing this project?
I spoke to the engineer earlier, and he said that he may not be able to make the meeting tonight. He has someone in the family with a medical issue, so he said that if there were any questions, that the commission could continue the hearing, but if there weren't any questions, then the commission could proceed with issuing the order.
Oh, I have questions.
Okay, well, then that means we'll have to continue the hearing.
Like a motion to continue it until November 2nd?
Second.
Motion, so moved.
Thank you. I have a motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
abstained. We'll continue it until November 2nd. The next one is Scott Green, 17 Murphy Street. They have asked for a continuance until December 7th. Anybody here for that project?
December 7th?
December?
December 7.
Yep.
12/7. Move to continue
Second.
To
I have a
12/7.
Until December 7th.
till December 7th.
I have a motion, and I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. We're continued. The next hearing is Wareham MA3 LLC. They have requested a continuance until November 2nd. I announced this continuance at the beginning of the meeting, so I don't know who left that would want to comment on this. You don't want to be continued?
I'm only here to see the commission vote to continue it to November 2nd.
Okay, okay.
Wow.
So,
Move to continue to November 2nd.
I have a motion, I heard a
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. We are continued until November 2nd.
And Madam Chairperson, just to follow up on that, that's no reflection on Mr. Burchett or this commission. I had a circumstance, I've been doing this for 50 years. Everyone has always been good with presumptive continuances. And 7 or 8 years ago, in a town far from the town of Wareham, I was told that it would be continued, and the next morning I found out it was not, and the project was denied. And
So we're,
my bosses were not happy with me.
I can see why you're gun shy.
Thanks so much.
Did you get the information you were looking for?
Pardon me?
Did you get the information you were looking for? You had asked for some,
Yes.
okay, all right.
Okey dokey. We are now,
Please.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
maybe,
Linda Sharp. How would we have found out that this was going to be continued so that we didn't bother to show up tonight?
well,
Usually my friends contact me, but
I don't know. We found,
Can you post something outside or put something, so that I didn't sit here for
well,
2 hours?
She announced it at the
She announced
beginning
it
of
at
the
the beginning
meeting,
of
but
the
if you weren't here at the beginning, then you would not have maybe heard that.
But I waited 2 hours, and this is,
okay, so do you put it online anywhere, or can we call to make sure?
We don't because I can't know for 100% how the commission's going to vote. We get a request for a continuance, but it's the commission's decision to grant that. So I can't say it's continued until they vote to continue it.
They just voted right now, though,
Right.
right?
They did.
But it
Just
was
now.
announced at the beginning. How did
That
you know
She
then?
announced that there was a request for a continuance submitted so that people, if they didn't want to sit around, wouldn't necessarily
we
have to.
received a notice of a continuation October 17th at 3:40 PM. So on Monday, we knew there was a continuation, but there's just, I don't know how to notify the general public of these continuances until they come into this meeting room, and we do that at the start of the meeting to prevent the people from sitting here, which I should have said something to you when I saw you and Peter come in, that knowing you would probably be here for Faring Hill.
Okay, well, thank you.
paper on the table or at the door, because I just, I understand, but I've come to many meetings where I've not been informed that there was a request for a continuance, and I've sat through these things, and doesn't seem right.
Totally understand.
Okay? I mean, like everybody else, I work 1 million hours a day, and this is an important issue. And the only reason you guys didn't have the last word last time was because he felt he should have the last
That's our-
word.
Thank you.
Sorry.
We're about done with the meeting. Is there something we can do for you?
No, thanks, I'm done. Thanks.
You sure? Okay, so the next thing on it is a discussion and vote on the wetland bylaw filing fees. We had a public hearing on Monday and nobody showed up. So we showed up and nobody else showed up, so there was no comments on our change in our filing fees. We have a final version.
Did the final version change the comment that I made, or does that still have it in there?
The comment that was on the other paper also, we discussed it, so I didn't know how to include it.
Well,
Or exclude it.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, it's not a fee issue, so it really shouldn't be included at all. I think that if you wish to include that in orders going forward, then certainly you should
Okay,
do that.
All right, so we're removing line 18.
That whole thing that just talks about,
Line 18,
yeah.
that talks about additions to enforcement orders.
Yes.
Okay. It's off.
So with that,
There was a change for the people who weren't at the meeting to double the NOI for Category 5 also. We hadn't been doubling it. Discussion was to double that also.
all right.
That was the only change from.
Then we removed the late, after-the-fact filing double fees for certification of compliance for both residential and commercial. That was removed. We removed the idea of a after-the-fact filing double fees for extension requests and extension requests commercial. Those are also removed.
Because they did not apply.
Because they did not apply, that's why you have NA not applicable. So with those changes in mind, we have, once we vote on it, new filing fees. The question is, when do we want to implement the new filing fees?
Effective November 1st. I think if we don't, you're going to end up getting inundated with things before the fees go into effect.
Can we put them into effect that quickly?
It's up to us. Tomorrow at noon is the deadline for November 2nd meeting. So those will be under the existing filing fees. Anything after November 1st will be the new filing fees. Did I get that right?
Sounds like you did.
So if you were to forward the final one to me, I will then pass it on to the town website for posting, saying effective 11/1,
Okay.
2022, new fees.
I couldn't get to my computer to make the change in time for the meeting because
Okay,
there's
so,
a gentleman putting windows in my
do we want them, what format does Mr. Underhill like them in? Word, PDF, or does he change them?
I think whatever we send them, we should send them as a PDF.
Okay,
That
so-
way, nobody can mess with the Word document.
So pass them to Mr. Pichette. Mr. Pichette will deal with Mr. Underhill to get them posted as soon as possible, so they're effective, so they're on file Thursday afternoon
Okay.
for effective 11/1. So
And
on the
that
top,
include both?
top of your document, say fees effective 11/1/2022.
Okay. And would that include the front page and the back page? You want the breakdown of the NOIs also?
Yes.
Okay. No problem.
There it is, folks. We have new filing fees. I need a motion to accept them, effective 11/1/22.
I make a motion that we accept the new filing fees effective 11/1/22.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Done. Is there anything else?
Crowd goes wild.
I signed the minutes.
Motion to adjourn?
I forgot to turn that off.
Anything else? I have a motion to adjourn at 8:21. I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? We are done. Thank you very much.
I have 2 new windows in my house.